Hello, I'm Dakota Gordon. It's truly an honor to be speaking today with Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, social activist, poet, and author Judy Collins. Judy, thank you so much for joining me today. It's truly an honor to be speaking
I,
with you.
my pleasure.
Did I miss any titles there? You've done a lot in your career, so I didn't want to miss any titles.
Oh, good.
First, if possible, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your poetry. You recently this year, in March, I believe, came out with a new poetry collection. Sometimes
Yes.
it's heaven.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what inspired this collection and how it came to fruition.
Well, my beloved husband, Lewis Nelson, who passed away in December of last year, in 2017, he said, I told him I was going to start working on the preparation for trying to write more songs, which I always do. And I said, well, probably I'll write, 90 poems in 90 days and see what I get. And then he said to me, why don't you write 365 poems instead? Then you'll have a book of poetry. You'll have a full book of poems. So this was in 2017. And last year, I showed the poems to my agent, and she said, well, we'll just publish this. That'll be fine. So that's what happened. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's turning out to be an interesting project, and people like it. And I'm able to um, say some of the poems in my concerts. I sit at the piano and I noodle behind them a little bit, and that's fun. So it's been a very good process. And I twisted and wrangled out of those poems, those 365 poems, I wrangled a dozen songs for my album called Spellbound in 22. So it was very fruitful. Let's put it that way.
So, do you think writing a poem and writing a song, do you think there's any differences there? Do you think a poem could be turned into a song?
Well, if you twist it around and give it bars and make it rhyme and so on, you can probably do it. It's hard to do, and a lyric is not a poem. They're very different. So you're right. It's not always easy.
And I also wanted to talk a little bit about so in the early 60s you were singing, you were taking a lot of other people's lyrics and making them your own. And then in I think 67 you decided to move on to writing some of your own songs too. And in this album, this was your first album where you have an original song on it. You have Since You Asked, which
Yeah.
is actually one of my favorites of your songs. What inspired you to start writing songs?
Well, it was in 1966 that I met and had a wonderful friendship with Leonard Cohen. And he came to the apartment and he said, I can't sing and I can't play the guitar, and I don't know if this is a song. And then he played me Suzanne, which of course I recorded immediately. And then he said to me, well, you've made me famous, but I don't understand why you're not writing your own songs. So I went to my piano and I wrote Since You've Asked, the one you pointed out. And that started it, and it's never ended. It's never ended.
That's amazing. We're grateful for that because a lot of those songs came out to be, amazing pieces of work.
Thank you.
And not only that, but you have like a power of a lot of people are able to take a song and do a cover of it, but you're really able to take a song and I feel make the lyrics your own. So even like on this album, a lot of these songs, like Both Sides Now, for example, that's a classic. Joni Mitchell wrote that, but when I think of it, I really think of you. So how do you think you were able to do that?
Well, I was very lucky in my life because, first of all, I had a great teacher, and that was my father. He was a great singer. He wrote good songs too. He was a good songwriter. I don't know why I didn't pick it up. I didn't quite understand it, I don't think, because his songs that he wrote were so wonderful and they sounded like they came from the pop charts of that era. Um, So, so I learned, my mother always said, you know, you didn't learn how to do this, your father taught you. And it's true. And so I think that the way that I sing and the focus that I have gives me an opportunity uh, to re-envision the song, if you will. And everybody who sings it will sing it differently. There
Mhm.
is that about it. But I hear something strange. I wonder if what it is.
You truly have a gift for being able to take a piece and make it your own.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it feels that way, you know, when I hear a song that if I hear a song and I fall in love with it, I have to do it. I have to learn it. I have to sing it. So I think it's, after all, it's probably decades of singing and playing and practicing and creating things. I think it's something in the genes, maybe.
No, that's truly amazing. And also I want to talk a little bit about you. You when you came to fame, it was in such a rich folk community. It was really like the high point of folk music, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
you were lucky enough to get to be surrounded by all these very influential people. Is there any piece of advice or story you've learned throughout your time working with others that has carried with you?
Well, I've been very fortunate to meet and be friends with so many people that have influenced me. The writers particularly had an influence because it wasn't that I wrote like they did, it was that I was able to sing their songs and bring them to, you know, the first few years I didn't write. So from the time I started working in 1959, I had a contract with Elektra in 1961. So immediately I started recording basically songs that were traditional. And then some of them were written by people. And then by the third album, I was recording songs of the singer-songwriters. And I had a whole bunch. I had this incredible, um, a fantastic group of songs from singers like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie, and songs of Phil Oakes and all the, you know, the hot list. I've recorded three of Dylan's songs right away when he started writing. So those were in my repertoire, and they still are. Well, at least Masters of War certainly is. And so I was lucky. I fell into it in the right time, in the right place. And the combination of being able to practice to play the piano and write my own songs when I started to work on those was also an advantage. And I do sing a lot of my own songs nowadays. You know, I do sing other people's songs, but I do give more than equal time to my own songs. So that's quite wonderful.
No, yeah, as you should. And you actually grew up doing classical piano, right?
I did.
How do you think that was able to shape, and what caused you to move to folk music, but also how do you think that was able to shape your skills in the folk music world?
Well, one day when I was practicing the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto, what happened was that my teacher, I had already played a Mozart concerto with my teacher's orchestra, and she wanted me to work on the Rock Two, the big one, the da 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 da. And so I was working on that. I was 16 or 15 or 16, I guess, and she wanted me to be ready to play it with her orchestra. And I was sitting in the house, and my family everybody was gone. I don't know where they were, but it was a Saturday. I was practicing and learning this and working on the concerto. And I stopped and I went over to the radio and turned it on. And I heard a song sung by Joe Stafford, a wonderful singer from the great era of the um, all the great pop songs, the great great collection of Rodgers and Hart and Rodgers and Hammerstein. And so I knew her very well. I knew her voice, and she was singing Barbara Allen, a very old folk song. And I just flipped out. I said, "Oh my God, that is so beautiful. I have to sing it." Then the next week, I turned on the radio and I heard the Gypsy Rover as part of the soundtrack for um, what's his name? I forget. It was a big movie, and it was a big song, and it was a hit song on the radio. And I thought, well, this is enough, enough, Rachmaninoff enough. I'm going to have to do something about this. So I told my father, I said, I want you to get me guitar. He rented it, which is a funny story because I always say he was optimistic. He had, my growing up was, I was playing Bach and Beethoven and Chopin and Debussy, and he was very spoiled in my family because that's what they heard coming out of the piano. So, so I immediately got the guitar and joined the Denver Folklore Society and began learning all those songs. And I learned them all and I absorbed them all. And by the time I was 19, I was able to start a career because that's what I wanted to do.
And that's young, especially by today's standards for starting your career too.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, so like I feel like we're seeing kind of a resurgence in people discovering folk music again, especially the younger generation. I think a little bit of that is due to the new Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, but then also it's just I think the lyrics are starting to relate to p people again. What do you think it is about the lyrics that are so relatable even 6 decades or more past?
Well, they're Bob Dylan, you know. We have to thank him for being outrageously adventurous in what he did. I mean, there was nothing like it going on. Nothing like it. And even he says in the Chronicle One, I think his book about his own life, he says, I don't know where they came. They started in 1961 and they ended in 1972. And those songs. I mean, yes, he's written other things, but that 10 years of writing changed everything for everybody because it not only was his own songs that were being played, but other people were being affected by that writing. But nobody could write like he could. And I think this young generation picks up on that and realizes that this is a trove, not only Dylan, but all the rest of them who wrote during that time. It was a phenomenal period. And I do count myself in it because I got into it in 66 and went on and on and on writing. So I'm very lucky for that.
No, you were definitely a big part of it. I definitely count you in that period.
Thank you.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about your touring schedule, which I was counting your dates on your website. You have almost 30 dates in like the next 3 months, which is insane to me. How are you able to? I mean, there's some artists who are brand new to the industry in their 20s, and they're not doing 30 dates in 3 months. How are you able to stay so active and keep up this momentum?
Well, I do 100 dates a year. I keep it at that. And, it's what I can do. And my touring is, I like touring. Most people don't. I mean, they have a problem with the plane, they have a problem with the cars, they have a problem. I don't. I happen to love it. So it's I don't know why exactly. I can write books on the road. I've done that a number of times. I'm writing another one right now called The Voice. I just worked on the opening chapter this morning so I can get it to my agent. She insists that I write this book called The Voice, and it's a pretty interesting book because it's kind of it's a mystery story as well as a story of my life. And so I like what I do, and I don't think I would be as happy as I am if I didn't travel and do what I do. So I'm not stopping.
No, it's truly amazing. I mean, you're going on so many dates, and it's not even like you're staying in America. I saw there was some dates in Canada, and I mean, people can expect to see you pretty much anywhere they go. So,
That's true. I hit the road for, I go to the UK on Saturday. So, and
oh wow.
I only have one show in England this time. Usually I have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and that's for every other year. So next year it'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks in England. And I love touring in England. I've been going there since 1965, and my first tour there was with Tom Paxton. So we're old
Oh
friends.
wow. That's amazing. And the last question I wanted to ask you is if you have any advice for young artists looking to get into music and get in the industry.
Well, first of all, you have to think very hard about it because you have to look at what the, what would you call it? You have to look at many different artists to see how they tour, what they do, how much time they spend on the road, how much time they spend writing, how much time they spend working on their songs, or if they're writing. Most people write songs now who are in this particular field. Um, I think it's a real challenge because it's much harder than you think. And it's filled with pitfalls that you have to be aware of. You have to be aware of the people that are in the industry who might want to manage you, or I mean, you have to get lucky and get
Hmm.
somebody who is honest and who can do the right thing. And although you'll probably be traveling on your own at the beginning, you probably do your first and second tour by yourself, but then somebody will be interested in you and then you'll get that kind of support. I think it's a huge risk to jump into this particular area. Um, I have been lucky because I don't think I've ever run into anybody who was dishonest. And that's not you know, that cannot be said for all of the music business. The music business has been
Hmm.
corrupt in many ways, and it still is. But if you have the nerve to figure out how to be honest and only work with honest people, you'll be fine. And even if you do find a crook who's really good, you might be, Elvis Presley
Hmm.
for 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 one. You have kind of these stories of people who, oh, Jules' story is very terrible, and even Leonard's story. Leonard's uh, business business representative ran off with all his money
Oh
in
wow.
years ago, and he was able to go back on the road and suddenly become a star. But she did run off with everything. I won't say her name out loud. So you'd have to be aware that it's a business
Hmm.
and that you have to be rigidly super conscious of what's going on in it, not just the music, but the way the business is handled for you. When you add it all up, you might want to be a lawyer. So I'm not sure how far people want to go with this because it has its pitfalls and it has its triumphs. So you could get a lot of both.
That's really great advice. I like the honesty and the transparency in it.
You gotta look carefully at where you're going. Don't drive your own car.
No, that's very true.
At least
Uh,
be a driver.
Judy, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. It's truly an honor, and I know a lot of people watching are really going to appreciate what you have to say. And it was
Thank
just
you.
amazing to get to speak with you.
Thank you. I had a great time. Thank you, Dakota. God bless you.